So tonight we are in Telluride, getting ready to head up Imogene Pass. This is always the point driving through Telluride, always trying to remember which way it is. The turn to Imogene Pass is on Oak Street, but Oak Street doesn't go all the way through, so you have to make a left turn on First Street. Oak Street, you kind of have to go around the block because the street does not go all the way through. So you know you found Imogene when you see a little Forest Service sign that says 869, and so that's the actual Forest Service road. So it's not very well marked when you drive through town. You just kind of have to get to an end of a street to find it. We are heading up Imogene Pass. We started on the Telluride side and we are heading over towards Ouray. We like to run this in the evenings because it's not nearly as busy as it is on the weekends. So if you come up on a weeknight, we can just run it after work and then go over to the hot springs with the kids. Right down there is Telluride. It gives you an amazing view of Telluride up here. Yeah. It's one of the most scenic passes in all Colorado, in my opinion. It's amazing because we just live right nearby, so we can just come up here and run it in the evening. So right now we're just outside of Telluride, and this is where you go up a series of switchbacks, and then the road finally kind of starts to turn into a little bit of a shelf road, and this is where it starts to get a little bit more of a drop off. It's really neat because it's kind of carved out of the cliff right here, and it has a steep drop off on the one side and a steep slick rock cliff with a little waterfall coming down it, so it's really neat. So right here, there's this cool waterfall just coming down the slick rock. So as you're working your way up, you start to pass these old interesting mines. This one, the door's kind of open and it has a big old cool air compressor inside there. It starts to get interesting really fast. So tonight we are up on Imogene Pass, and there's not many places more scenic than this. This is always one of the most scenic places I've ever been. We live close by. We can come up here pretty much any time in the summer, and so we've been coming up here since about 2010 or so. Been running these passes, and they've gotten progressively busier, so I like to come up on weeknights. That's the time where you can actually enjoy them without all the crowds. But anyway, right in there is kind of the road coming up to where we get closer to the mining complex, as the old mining complex. And right down here is Telluride, and it's even kind of later in summer to where there's a lot of natural raspberries that are out everywhere. Great time of year to get out here before the temperature starts changing. And here in a few weeks it'll definitely start changing and get a whole lot colder. But the scenery here just absolutely never disappoints. The sheer steepness of the mountains and just the scenery in general. If anybody finds my videos through searching and things like that, I just like to say these shelf roads up here, they're narrow and they are dangerous. Rock crawling trails are a lot harder. These trails aren't hard per se, but they're dangerous. You roll off one of these, you're dead. I mean, it's that simple. Some people get lucky and they get pinned up against a tree. Some people survive, but it's never a good situation. You have to use caution when passing people. You have to use caution, common sense when out here on these narrow roads. A lot of these roads are only wide enough for one vehicle to pass. So when you get two people trying to pass each other, that's where a lot of people get into trouble. They get one tire off the side and away they go. And there's been a lot of incidents up in these mountains in the last few years. I follow some Facebook groups and you see a lot of the aftermath of some people totaling their vehicles out up here, and if they're lucky enough to walk away, well, good for them. If anybody is coming across my video and interested in coming up to these places, I would just say you have to be careful. It is dangerous. What were you saying, Maddie?
I saw an old cabin way up there.
You did? What do you think's up there?
Skeletons?
Oh, skeletons? You think there's old skeletons in there? What do you think's in there?
Something scary.
Something scary?
Mm-hmm.
Would you kids go exploring in an old gold mine?
No.
No, that's right. You stay out of those.
Because then you clear off.
Yeah. Would you go down there, Maddie?
No.
No, you wouldn't.
It's dark and picnic. It also be a maze. Because it's made of metal, so it might be attractive to metal.
So we're driving up through the old Tomboy mine. How big did this mine used to be, Ems? Really big? How many people do you think lived up here at one time?
I don't think too many.
It was a whole bunch. I can't remember what the sign said, but this was a big town up here. I just about smacked my head. Girls, is this dog crazy?
Yeah.
So as you're working up through the old mine complex, there's lots of braided roads that take off where people have made lots of multiple routes kind of through there. Most of them go to the same place. Some of them just dead end at different places of the mine. But really you can pretty well pick your way through it. It's the size and scope of this old mining complex is amazing because it's just massive. It just goes on all the way up through the whole valley. Here's an example where there's multiple routes and you just gotta try and pick the best one. So right now we are starting the ascent up the final switchbacks. As you get to the top on the Telluride side, there's just a couple switchbacks and kind of a shelf road till you get to the very top of the pass. And we're working our way up that. Well, there's a few decent sized patches of snow still up here, but other than that, most of it's gone. Hey Maddie, is that steep down there?
Yeah.
Is that a long way down, Ems?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's Telluride way down there.
It looks like a single dot.
It does look like a single dot. It's way down there. Almost up to the top. Crazy tonight. Wow. Doesn't look like I'll be getting any drone shots up here. I was hoping to get some nice drone shots. I've had some in the past. Anyway, up at the top, Imogene Pass, 13,114 feet. So, a little between the gusts here, but there's Telluride way down in the valley. Man, I'm bummed at how windy it is up here. It's crazy. Yeah, I was hoping to get some real nice aerial shots with the drone, but oh well. I don't want to crash it up in this wind. It's not worth it. It's just awesome. Nobody else is up here. We're the only ones up here tonight. That's why I like coming up in the evenings. It's awesome. I'm going to walk out of the wind just a little bit so my wife can pick me up without it ripping the door off the Jeep. Wow, this wind is crazy tonight. Well, we're up here at 13,000 feet, so you never know what the weather's gonna do. That's right, Ems. We're going to Ouray next, huh? But first, we're gonna stop at this cool overlook up here, huh, kids?
How high is it?
We're up around 13,000 feet right now. Is that a long way, Maddie? Pretty high up there.
What if that?
Well, we are now just at the overlook, right past the top of the pass. The top of the pass is over there. It was really, really windy. Over here at the overlook, it's not quite as windy. But there's a really nice shot of this old lake over there that has a neat cabin by it. And then you get up to the top and there's Red Mountain Pass back over there. And you can kind of see Corkscrew Pass and such out there in the distance. That's Corkscrew, just straight out kind of in those red mountains. And Red Mountain Pass and all that, it's just a really nice overlook from up here. You get to kind of see a long way. But it's a beautiful night. We're the only ones up here pretty much. So awesome night to go for a drive in the mountains. So working down the Ouray side, there's a whole bunch of it's not as steep as the Telluride side, but there's a whole bunch of braided trails where people have kind of made their multiple paths. So you just kind of got to pick your way through them. It's pretty hard to tell what's actually the original trail because there's so many braided trails. So going down the Ouray side, the trail's a lot wider than the Telluride side. There's not nearly as many like shelters, so it's not as many steep drop-offs. There's a couple spots, but it's not nearly as steep. It's a lot wider in most places. Coming down the Ouray side, we're on the one part that's the closest thing to a shelf road. There's been some people that have gone off here over the years that I've seen pictures of, so this is the one spot that you have to be the most careful of. But there's a really great photo spot that most people stop to get some neat photos. So anyway, so right now we are up at the overlook spot. A lot of people pull their Jeeps just out to this point right here and get some really neat shots. My wife and kids in there, we're not really going to be pulling up out on the edge of that rock right there. To me, it's not really worth it. It sure makes a cool picture when people do. But anyway, looking down the Ouray side, there's a couple vehicles making their way up. Once again, I wanted to get the drone out and get a couple cool shots, but it's still pretty windy in here. Just one of those nights. But anyway, this is a great spot to stop and get a couple cool pictures, cool magazine style pictures. I've seen some different magazine people shooting photos out there over the years. It makes a great shot. We are on the Ouray side, back down almost into the tree line, and we're working across the tailings pile. The trail goes across this very narrow, I'll say, tailings pile towards these old mines that are always kind of neat to stop and check out. So the tailings pile is very narrow, but it's not rough or anything. As long as you keep it straight, keep it between the lines. A real neat big mine portal that you can stop at and look into. I've seen times where there's been no gate on it and people can walk straight into it. I wouldn't suggest it, but it's private property and it's dangerous. Anyway, it's neat to stop and look at. Look at that, Maddie. You want to go in there? Maddie, would you ever go in here?
Dad,
Huh, what do you see?
what's that white stuff?
Is that a little bit of ice back there?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, pretty crazy. An old train track going back into the mountain, huh, Maddie? Pretty cool stuff.
Dad, is it?
It's a neat old mine you drive past after you go past the mine portal. There's an old mine building, and there were some people when they're working doing some stabilization of the structure, probably to keep it from falling down. Who knows? Maybe people that own it, or maybe a historical grant or something. But anyway, it's neat to see them stabilize these old buildings. So there are some spots on the Ouray side where the road is starting to get pretty eroded, and they can get a little off camber. It's fine, but once again, it's another one of those spots where people can find themselves getting in trouble. Because people go too far over there and they tip over. We are now heading up to my favorite little semi-secret obstacle on Imogene Pass, and it's also one of the most scenic too, because it has this amazing waterfall that kind of comes down and goes right across it, so it always makes a really amazing shot. So it's late in the day, we're kind of losing light fast, so I want to get across this quick. But anyway, it basically starts up this little 2-track right here, then you go across the waterfall and then come back down. The thing about it is there's a little ledge near the end of the waterfall that can make it a little tricky, and where you have to go over the ledge, you get really close to the edge of the waterfall. So anyway, that's the things you have to look out for when you go across. So driving up to the little waterfall, it's kind of sketchy. It's a little off camber, so you just have to take it slow and easy and be careful. That's all I can say. So the drop into the waterfall is a little sketchy. It's a little slick. So you just take it real slow and easy. Now this is kind of the sketchy part, is getting over the ledge. This is like the last spot I like to stop on the Ouray side. In my opinion, it's one of the most interesting spots. Big, huge waterfall, a fun little obstacle to drive the Jeep up, just to kind of end off a nice day. So once the kids are good, once they've been good on the trail all day, we always end up in Ouray so that we can take the kids to the hot springs. That's their reward for being good in the trail all day. Ems, you ready to go to hot springs?
Yeah.
All right, we're heading to the hot springs. Well, we're losing daylight fast. It's getting dark up here and the wildlife's starting to come out. There's a couple deer up there. There's one up there too. From my experience, the best time to see wildlife is either early in the morning or late in the evening, not in the middle of the day when there's like a line of traffic driving through here. So if you like to go wildlife watching, that's the time to do it.